if Facebook will allow me to. There we go. Okay, so thank you guys again for tuning in this morning. And in a winter where we can't buy a snowflake, something today like today is even a talking point. We thank you guys for sharing some of your pictures, your reports so far. This from Angie and Galax, where you can see the bulk of accumulation on the car roofs, on elevated surfaces, on the grass, on things like that. So again, in a winter that's been so wimpy, for lack of a better term, this is actually a conversation starter. Hello to Erica. Collinsville, your birthday was yesterday. Hope you had a great birthday. I know in Collinsville, seeing a little bit of a mix. A little bit of a dusting up on top of Bent Mountain. This from Pam Groover. And our last picture here from our parking lot. And one of our producers got a little creative here with the car windshield and everything. So again, in a winter where we haven't seen much, you have to enjoy the little bit of snow that we're getting out there this morning, at least in parts of the area. If you have any pictures, we want you to be part of the weather story. You can send those to us through Pin It on our weather app. You go to WSLS.com/pins. It is pretty much the same thing. Let's go ahead and give you a live look across different portions of the area. You see, especially in the top part of the screen here, both Wytheville, seeing a little bit of snow on some of the car roofs, on the roof of Skeeter's Hot Dogs, but you do notice Blacksburg there in the upper right-hand corner, seeing a little bit more. You can see the snow falling. And again, most of the accumulation is on the grass and things of that nature. A little bit of a fine mist and snow sleet mix in Roanoke and Martinsville. And Melissa, the weird thing about this storm system is that we've had thunderstorms to the south, and it's kind of robbing the moisture and how far north it gets. So I'm kind of skeptical at this point of how much you actually see in Clifton Forge, although you do see the moisture filling in a little bit in West Virginia. So appreciate your patience, or maybe Mother Nature appreciates your patience here as we go throughout the morning. Let me just kind of restart things here on Facebook, just because I want to make sure I'm getting to everybody's comments, questions, things of that nature. So apologies for the delay there. Let's see. Our Sandro said nothing in Coleman Falls just yet, but as you can kind of see, here's our storm system. Some of these storms in Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, trying to rob a little bit of the moisture that we've got in place. So that's why things are falling lightly and having a hard time overcoming the ground. And that's why a lot of our accumulation thus far is on those grassy and elevated surfaces. But let's go ahead and show you radar as it stands right now. And I'll point out a few things. Again, number one, the light snow, occasionally a little bit of a mix. Falling into areas like the Roanoke Valley, Franklin County, Henry, Pennsylvania, perhaps as far east as Halifax County. Parts of the New River Valley, Christiansburg, Blacksburg, that's where we've actually got a crew riding around. They say the roads are mainly wet. That is great news, but we do have some church closings, delays right now on WSLS 10 News running at the bottom of the screen. You can get those on WSLS.com. One thing we're starting to notice in the precipitation this morning is that there is a little bit of a wintry mix unfolding. And so for that, we turn on the sleet tracker. And what I'm looking for is these yellows and oranges. And that's an indication of snowflakes melting up top. So that is where sleet is developing. So that is parts of Patrick, Henry, maybe even Pulaski, Giles, Wythe, Grayson, and Bland counties. So may get a little bit of freezing rain and sleet mixing in from time to time in that portion of the area. Otherwise, as we go back to the more conventional precipitation type, you do see that the moisture right now having a hard time reaching farther to the north. So for those of us like Arasandro, who said he was in Coleman Falls, or I believe it was, let me scroll up here, Melissa, who's waiting in Clifton Forge, you're going to have to wait for this stuff to come in from West Virginia. And so that's why I think a lot of us are going to end up on the lower end of totals, which, surprise, surprise, it's kind of how this winter has gone so far, right? Again, it's been so wimpy that even this is a talking point. But thankfully not hearing any major issues on the roads. Again, as we go back to some of our live cameras across the area, and you do see most of the accumulation in Wytheville and in Blacksburg is on some elevated surfaces, though you do see the parking lot there outside of Lane Stadium starting to pick up on a little bit of snow. So those higher elevations, areas like Galax, maybe seeing a little bit on the roads as well. But you go down into Martinsville, there you see that little bit of accumulation on that roof. Snow is continuing in Martinsville, whereas in the Roanoke Valley, it's really elevation dependent. You may go into Cave Spring and find that it's snowing at a pretty decent clip, whereas you go into Roanoke City and there's not a whole lot going on. But as far as, again, main roads in the Roanoke Valley, 81, 581, 220, they're in decent shape. So that's radar right now as it stands here at about 821. And again, you see a little bit of that wintry mix developing along into the west of Interstate 77. So that's a look at some of our current conditions, but it does you no good if you're not going to know what's going on moving forward. So let's move forward and look ahead at future tracker here, and I'm going to stop the tape at about 9 o'clock. And there you see the snow, again, falling pretty lightly, making it as far east as Lynchburg and south side, and not really accumulating much just because it's falling relatively lightly. And when it does so, with how warm the ground has been, it has a hard time overcoming that unless you're in some of the higher elevations. Again, like I mentioned, Blacksburg, parts of Floyd County, and areas like Galax, where we've seen a little bit of accumulation this morning. But you also kind of draw your attention to the pink here, and that is in parts of the New River Valley. You're also going to notice some breaks in the action from time to time, not necessarily falling intensely. As far as Wytheville is concerned, though, Faith, you're going to be looking at a light accumulation. It's almost not worth putting a number on, quite frankly, but as far as ice is concerned, maybe up to 1/10 of an inch. So that could make the roads a little slick at times, but for right now, most main roads that I've seen around the Wythe County area have been just reported as wet. And I do know for a fact that VDOT crews have been out continuing to treat the roads because our crew who's been in the New River Valley has actually seen some of those crews. But again, heading late morning into the afternoon, you do notice kind of a scattering of precipitation here, the pink being the little bit of wintry mix that we see south of US 460. Deeper into the afternoon, you're kind of looking at some rain mixing in as you go farther to the south toward the North Carolina-Virginia border, whereas everywhere else is just kind of this light mix of either snow, sleet, or freezing rain. And then deeper into the evening that we go, our area of low pressure, our storm system starts to pull away, and therefore we see the precipitation, pulling away. So I've kind of condensed our maps into this one graphic here, and just to kind of show you the trends, I do not think areas in the blue get more than an inch anymore just because of how this storm system has struggled to get its moisture farther to the north. I think most of us end up with anywhere from nothing to an inch on grassy or elevated surfaces. So it's not really like I can say, hey, Rocky Mount gets this, Daleville gets this. We all kind of fall under this umbrella of nothing to an inch, most of which is on the grass. As far as ice is concerned, however, you go toward portions of Grayson, Carroll, Floyd, Patrick counties. That's where you stand a decent chance of seeing up to about 1/10 of an inch of ice, maybe even into parts of Wythe and Bland counties as well, where we've already seen a little bit of that transition from early morning snow to a little bit of a mixed bag. So that's kind of where we stand as far as totals are concerned heading throughout the rest of this particular storm system. Again, not a huge storm, not a huge event, but in this winter, it doesn't take much to get us talking. In fact, I went outside and was just excited to see snow falling outside the TV station. I mean, it's literally taken nothing for some of us to kind of perk our ears up a little bit in a winter that, quite frankly, has been pretty pathetic. And thankfully, nothing like what we saw 30 years ago during the superstorm of 1993. As far as overnight is concerned, temperatures about 32 to 34 degrees, so there may be a few slick spots in areas that do see a little more accumulation than others. And then heading into tomorrow, we'll be a little on the breezy side, increasing sunshine, and temperatures making their way into the 40s and 50s. As far as moving forward, again, you see this mixed bag of precipitation, most of it falling pretty lightly this morning into the middle of the day. It turns a little more scattered in the late morning hours and heading into the afternoon. Then our storm system, there you see kind of that big red L. That's the center of our storm. That is going to be moving farther to the east. And at that point, it's going to take the precipitation away with it. But then heading into Monday and Tuesday, what you get is this cold, west and northwest wind, and so that is going to pile up on some of the west-facing slopes. So your snowshoe areas like Burke's Garden, maybe parts of Bland County, seeing occasional snow showers Monday, and then again heading into Tuesday. But really the main focus for the rest of us is going to be the gusty wind that develops and the really cold air. We're going to be quite cold on Tuesday with temperatures in the 30s and 40s during the day. And then you're looking at Wednesday and Thursday mornings when temperatures for a lot of us drop into the 20s. So a hard freeze is looking likely by Wednesday morning. And the reason why that is kind of a highlight is because, again, how warm we've been this winter. You've got fruit trees out there that are blooming. Temperatures in the 20s Wednesday morning, not necessarily good news for those. In the meantime, let's go back to our Skycam network. We do have a live cut-in on WSLS 10 News. That's coming up, as our director just told me in my ear, in 3 minutes. So we're going to have to get off here in a little bit. But you do see Blacksburg kind of sticks out there in the upper right-hand corner. And Martinsville, to an extent, does as well. In fact, Amy's saying big flakes in Blacksburg, grassy areas starting to be covered. So there's some of our live looks, but we kind of want your help. We want you guys to be part of the story here. Send us your pictures, video, if you have a chance. Go to WSLS.com/pins, P-I-N-S. You make yourself a profile, you send in your pictures, and throughout these hourly cut-ins that we have in our later newscasts, you might see your pictures shown on air or highlighted on social media. So appreciate any help you guys can get. We try to have as many eyes as we can on different parts of the area, but you guys are a big part of that as well, and we appreciate you being a part of that. So time now coming up on 8:28. We're going to go live with 10 News reporter Abby Coleman. That's coming up at 8:30 on 10 News. We'll see you back on the TV. We'll probably do another one of these live streams later this morning as well. Take care, guys. Have a happy Sunday, and we'll talk to you soon.